Good evening. I am afraid with the new meeting link, we might have an issue as I'm looking that there are four of us out of quite a few more. Um, I am going to resend the new meeting link and hopefully this will help people get to the right place. Good evening. Good evening. Hi, Tara. Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
So I thought it would be a good idea to start a new year with a new Zoom link. And that might be
We're the only ones that
backfiring.
got the memo.
This might be backfiring on me right now. Um,
Dr. Ray, I've got the old link. I'll hop in that call and see if anybody's waiting, and if they
would
are, I'll
you,
direct them this way.
Cuban? I appreciate that.
Yep, I'll be right back.
All right. So hopefully, hey, Brandon.
Just kidding. Apparently, I've got double on the same link.
Oh, you have but this is the new one, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I've just got double.
So it says Barbary has joined the meeting, but that must be the old link. Hmm.
Yep, would be right. Oh, I believe I sent out the right one that you gave me, Dr. Ray.
Yes, unfortunately, um, old things die hard. And so I think because I'm getting messages that people are joining and they're not here. So that means they're in the other link. So I may need to jump out and go into the old link if I even, oh no, here's Barbary. Okay, excellent.
You're coming, don't worry. I was in the old one.
You were in the old one. I was like, what's going on?
We're coming over here now.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, and I should have known this would be, a potential issue. Um,
Wow, we got so many
but
people. We got two meetings going on.
I
Wow.
was also, but I was also afraid that if we kept using the old link, that stuff happens over time with Zoom links. But anyway, I thought it was a good idea to update and use a new one. But
Good.
all right, so while everybody's coming on, before Brandon gets us started, I was given this tonight. Does anybody know what this is? I'll kind of turn it slowly so you can see it from all the different angles.
It's a
Is it
squash.
edible?
Is that cornbread?
Oh wait, it's a pumpkin.
Okay, it's in the pumpkin family,
That's
and
a,
I think I heard
that's a,
somebody
that's a
It's a
gourd.
squash. I
It
forget
is a
which variety of
squash.
squash, but it's a
Cornbread.
squash.
Now, can you narrow it down to what kind of squash this is? Has anybody? I had never seen it before.
Isn't that just a summer squash?
I mean,
I mean, it's summer and it's a
it is
squash.
summer and it is a squash. So Annie, I think you're onto something.
Is that an acorn squash?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I have been told, now this could just be a very North Carolina name for it. Okay. Like it really does not sound like an official name. I was told it was called a patty pan squash. So look it up, verify, see if this is actually a patty pan squash. But if it is, I'm gonna try to figure out how to eat it either way. So All right, Brandon, that's enough. I'm sorry. It's all you,
No,
dude.
it's all right. I was just looking at the Wikipedia page for Patty Pan and Squat.
I don't even know how you spell it, so hooked
Looks
on
like Peter
phonics.
Pan. Um,
Yep.
so Sassy Reka asked me to kind of move the agenda around a little bit since she's only going to be here for the first 15 minutes. So, hi everyone. I met some of you already, but my name is Brandon. I'm from North Carolina, and I'll be helping direct the meeting today. So, first agenda item was regarding like kind of the national team's like strategic direction. So Sasirika and I called yesterday, or not yesterday, sometime last week regarding different like goals that we wanted to set for like membership, how many states we wanted to grab, and then also trying to figure out like what the different needs and challenges were for the team. And I'll let Sasi Reka talk about that. And then there's also the national team project that me and her both agreed would be kind of a good rallying point or like project for the rest of the states that we bring in. So Sasi Reka, if you want to really quickly just kind of talk about the goals and then kind of the needs we were talking about.
Yeah, so we set, I think it was three main goals. And so the first thing was like over the next couple months to get it was 3 more states and then 10 more youth members. And then also try to bring the team kind of like financial like stability.
Yeah. Sorry, are you saying something right now or am I?
No, I was that's it. Yeah, I think those are our
Oh,
main
okay.
goals. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, sorry, I thought you were saying something. So yeah, that, and then we were discussing kind of the funding model that Dr. A and you, Dr. Annie had mentioned to us during the conference at Esri San Diego regarding kind of like trying to bring in different universities and like collaborate with them on research and grants opportunities. So we both kind of found some fields that we were interested in or thought would be good for the rest of the club. So that was like medicine, agriculture, and there was a few more that we brainstormed. Oh, biology and like life sciences were the three that we came up with that we thought would be able to find the most professors. So Sasireka will be taking care of trying to find kind of like emailing those connections over in her state, California, and I'll be taking care of that here in North Carolina. So that's the quick update I think I have for that. I wanted to open up the floor mainly for like what type of Dr. A, you've already kind of sent out an email to all the adult volunteers, but just like what like needs or like immediate problems do we have so that me and Sasireka can kind of start working on them.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. And I would like to acknowledge that we have a lot of new faces on the call
Yeah.
tonight. Um, Many of you have met us in different settings, but you may not have met each other. And so I think I would like to take maybe just the next few minutes to have folks introduce themselves, tell, maybe where you're from, maybe some of a little bit of your background or expertise, and just so we can get to kind of know each other. I think that would be nice, and then maybe we could actually start with the youth members introducing yourselves, and then we'll go to the adults.
Got it. I propose we start alphabetically, so Arjun first.
All right, so my name is Arjun. I've been part of the National 4-H team for I think a couple years now, and so I actually just graduated. So this was probably like my last time attending the Esri conference, at least as a youth. But I worked on projects relating to like environmental issues, um, food security, and then like tobacco prevention. And then I also did some workshops at like conferences. Like we attended the 4-H Equity Conference, and then of course at the Esri conference, I did a couple presentations as well.
All right, I guess just popcorn at Arjun from you.
All right, I'll do just you, I guess, since it's alphabetical.
All right. Uh, so I'm Brandon. I'm from North Carolina. I already mentioned that. So I joined the national team, I want to say like a few months ago, I think around November or December. I've been with GIS or like doing GIS work with Dr. Ray for roughly, I want to say a year now. I was at the San Diego conference with Arjun and Dr. Ray, and I see Austin's also in the call with us. Um, and I think that's pretty much all I have to say. And yeah, I'll just go ahead and move now to Brock. You're up.
Well, hello, my name is Brock Reese. I'm from North Carolina as well. I was previously the president of my high school's GIS club. I joined the national team in 2022 and I was able to make San Diego that year. Sorry, my dog is being loud. I was not able to make San Diego the previous 2 years, however, because of conflicts, and by conflicts, I mean the beach. But besides that, I've had multiple GIS projects. I've had an internship with Dr. Ray, and I'm just here to help out supporting GIS in local settings, mainly high school GIS clubs, and as well as the larger picture. And I'm hoping to get our new incoming president for my high school's GIS club, Jonathan, on these meetings, but unfortunately he has National Guard boot camp this summer, so I don't know how available he'll be. But hopefully we can get him on here.
And who are you going to pass it to, Brock?
I'll pass it to Sudi.
All right, sounds good. So hello everyone, my name is Sudi, and yes, I'm currently an incoming sophomore at Harvey Mudd College. And I have actually worked with this team before. I actually joined the GIS team in January 2021 and worked that year on a project, the Where's the Food project, which I also did present at Esri. And it's been quite some time, and I did take quite basically a bit of a gap here this past 1 year because it was my first year in college and my schedules just changed completely. So I just wanted to take some time off and really adjust to that schedule. But right now, I'm very glad to be back and work with you all once again.
You pass it to
So
somebody, Sudi.
Okay. Let's see. I'll pass it to, let's see, Benjamin.
Well, good evening. Good evening. My name's Ben Merritt. I live in Unicoi County. Well, I actually just moved from Unicoi County to Oak Ridge, Tennessee, home of the Manhattan Project, where they did some really cool work with nuclear stuff in World War II. And so I get to work out there. And so I joined the team back in high school. Well, yeah, early high school is about my sophomore year. So I've been just graduated college, so I've been with the team for 7 or 8 years. Been to San Diego 2 or 3 times. We had COVID kind of in between, and I regret that I wasn't able to go this year. But is there any other specific questions I'm missing?
No, you're good, Ben. You can pass it off to Sashireka or David.
All right, Saucy, yeah.
Okay, hi, my name is Satsarika. I've been part of the team for I think about almost 2 years now. And so last year, I worked on a project and it was showing how people in poverty got access to low quality food, and it was trying to bring awareness to it. And then this year, I was trying to show how much people got access to Medi-Cal all over like San Francisco and like the Bay Area. And yeah, that's it. I can pass it on to David.
Yeah. I'm David Reynolds. Let's see, I was on a team about 15 years ago, and I've been doing, I guess, been with the team kind of on and off since. My day job, I'm a GIS architect, so designing systems and doing IT data engineering stuff with spatial and non-spatial data. Where I work at now is actually more of a GIS consulting firm, so I get to do a lot more like enterprise GIS stuff during the day, and I don't really do much with analytical stuff. I think I sent it to the whole team. I actually just started a project here about a month or so ago with the center that's part of IU in Indianapolis area, and they're doing some interesting stuff around geospatial data analysis with, I guess, food deserts, with vulnerable people populations, really looking at communities and topics. So it really brought me back to what you guys have been doing, which is around like the food insecurity stuff. Where's the food at? And then my other side, I guess I went to school for GIS and emergency management. So really big into emergency management, which there's always like jobs aplenty in both of them. Oh yeah, and I guess I've been, I think I was in to the UC this year. So just started actually with my company, but I've been to the UC, I think, like 8 or 9 times.
All right, and you can just pass it to anybody else.
Yeah, whoever else.
Well, okay. So how about Tara?
Hey y'all. My name is Tara Fazzino. I am a faculty member at the University of Kansas in the psychology department. I have connected in with Thomas and Brandon pretty recently because I'm involved in a sort of large scale project that's funded by the National Science Foundation, what we call the Nourish Project, where we are seeking to address food insecurity in areas that have low access to fresh, healthy food. And we're trying to address this by trying to promote and facilitate entrepreneurship in communities that experience food insecurity, to have folks within those communities open up their own fresh food businesses so that we increase access to fresh, healthy food, and we keep the resources in the community. And so we're using some geospatial and artificial intelligence based tools to try to facilitate this process. So as part of my role here, I'm also working on our training component for this project, where we're really excited to get involved with and collaborate with folks in the forage community to be able to, further sort of collaborate on some of these efforts. So really happy to be here, and thanks, Thomas, for inviting me.
Sure. Annie.
Hey. Oh, y'all, I'm so happy to be here. I'm Annie Maselli. I'm joining you from State College, Pennsylvania. So if this was Erie, middle of the state. I am not here in my official capacity. So I work for the Department of Education. Specifically, I'm with the National Center for Education Statistics. And in my role, I work predominantly with the Education Demographic and Geographic Estimates Program, EDGE. And so I'm kind of the main point of contact, and also the person I work with who loved y'all so much. Maybe some of y'all might know his kiddos, right? I don't know if folks would know Ben and Sam Gevert, but I guess Doug, my boss, linked up with 4-H folks years ago. And yes, they love the applause, Austin. And so I've been here while I just had the chance to meet a group of y'all, Arjun and Brandon and Austin and Thomas, and Brandon's dad, can't forget about him, shout out to him, back at the UC this past San Diego. I've heard about y'all for forever. So again, just very quick snippet. So my day job, what I do is GIS. I manage all of our authoritative data for federal education data across the country. I was first introduced to GIS years ago when I was doing community development work back in Nashville. My background, I was a high school teacher, guidance counselor, and I've run kind of pre-college dual enrollment programs. And wasn't directly involved in 4-H when I was a kid, even though my mom's a farmer, but did some work during COVID with Wisconsin Extension, doing some work with 4-H. So kind of coming to you from different angles, but so not exactly sure how I can help and support in this space. I'm definitely interested, as Thomas and I have talked, and as Thomas and Doug have talked, definitely interested in thinking about if there's more formal ways that the Department of Ed can take on some larger roles. So right here to listen, learn, also support in the ways that I can in my personal capacity. So really excited to be here. And Esther, I'm gonna popcorn to you. I think you're trying to unmute. I can popcorn somewhere else if that helps. Okay,
No, I got it. So I'm Esther Worker. I used to be with Esri as an education account manager, and 4-H and FFA and tribal youth and all that were part of my responsibility. I have since retired, and retirement is good, but I'm here to support you. And I don't know how to do GIS, but I know a lot of people who do. So I know where the resources are. And I'm glad to have so many new faces on this call. It's awesome. Barbary, are you still on?
I'm still here.
Okay, would you like to join us?
I am Barbary Duke. I am a former classroom teacher. I have been using GIS for 25 years. And for a great deal of that time, I write curriculum and do professional development for teachers and students. For the previous 12 years, I was also the editor-in-chief at Directions Magazine and ran their webinar program as well. I have worked with 4-H doing GIS and GPS in Missouri and Louisiana before I moved where I currently live in very southern Alabama. I live near the beach. And I'm just here to help in any way and support you guys that I can.
All right, and let's go to Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie Gerstenfeld. I'm in the Bay Area. I am working on the same project as Tara Fazzino. I'm the program manager of Nourish. I do have a background in teaching as well. I taught intervention in K through 5. And I have a little bit of a background in GIS as well, but I'm here more as to help get our training program to help you guys maybe if there's interest in looking at food insecurity and where's the food kind of projects in GIS.
Excellent, thank you. Vidya.
Hi, Dr. Ray and team. I'm Vidya Govindan, Suri's mom. So we have been part of this team since Jan 2021. Actually, Suri Googled internet and then he found this team. And then I was forced to join this team as adult volunteer to accompany him. But then it became our extended family, the team with the team, Tom, Austin, Ben, David, Dr. Ray, Esther, Miss Fran. I forgot about this kid. There is one super duper kid. Is it Vib? Vib. And all those. Yeah. And definitely thrilled to reconnect with the team after a year-long break. I was just switching jobs, and then it became in-person commute. I'm from Bay Area as well, Leslie. So definitely we'll connect. I have been associated with California State 4-H as adult volunteer for STEM projects, and definitely looking forward to join this team back and see where to take it forward. Yeah, and I also wanted to let you guys know that there are so many young 4-H members from California who want to join this team as well. Who are team leaders from my club and other clubs. Yeah, looking forward to working with you all. Sorry for not using the camera. Just for today.
Understood. Thanks so much, Vidya. And that's really exciting to hear about the new potential members. I heard Brandon and Sashirika saying that they want the 10 new youth. So hopefully that'll help move towards that.
That is super cool.
Excellent, excellent. So Brandon, do you want to kind of take back over at this point? And thank you everyone for being here. This is something that many of us have been a part of for a really long time, and we believe that the work we're doing is making a difference, and we're pretty convinced of that actually. And so having additional hands to help us really make it the best team it possibly can be is going to be really helpful. So go ahead, Brandon.
Oh yeah, so I was just gonna circle back. Sasireka had to do something with sport, I believe. That's why I moved everything up on the agenda. She had a question regarding like social media use. Is that like fine for us to do, like on our behalves? Is there any like red tape there, or I was just gonna ask
That
that
is
question.
that is a great question. That is something I will have to investigate because I don't have a quick and ready answer for that. Unless somebody else on the call who knows 4-H rules would be able to could be able to speak to that.
I will say it's a state by state thing. I know in Iowa, so as part of our robotics team, like our students manage all of that. And I think if I remember right, I think our state did put out some like guidelines or whatever, but I think it's a state by state kind of thing.
Okay, thank you, David.
I'll say if you're wanting to post something yourself, I don't think there's any issue.
This is Esther. Kim and I have managed the 4-H GIS GPS Facebook page for a long time. So, and we're always looking for help and posts on that. So please help us make that more prominent.
Yeah.
Esther, feel free to add me as an admin if you want a third person.
Oh, that would be great. Thanks, Ben.
Oh, general housekeeping item I actually also had. Is there a shared Google Drive that I'm currently just unaware of?
So that's another great question. And I'm really glad you're kind of leading us through this. I did try to brainstorm, a number of issues that I felt were outstanding, and I sent that list to you as well, Brandon, that I sent out to several of our volunteer adults. One of those things would be a shared repository, like a Google Drive. I will tell you part of well, so first of all, no, I've been using my Google Drive and then kind of like each year for the Esri purposes for maps, I have basically shared a drive, but we don't have anything beyond that. One thing though that I was thinking maybe Barbarie would be able to help guide us on potentially is our website we have over here, and we have the different websites that we have, none of which we've been able to kind of keep updated. The other thought that's come up several times, and I don't know how all of that should work, what's most efficient, but is the idea, and Brock will recall this, the idea of a hub page. And should we, instead of trying to do more websites, be doing a hub and make that our front-facing page? And I don't know the answer. I'm just throwing out things that I've heard us kind of discuss over time. But I do agree that some shared place where we're taking care of, keeping meeting minutes, records of our work, but also being able to publish your work so that like right now, and I will say Tom Tate often points to the what's it called, Austin? The name of the website, Youth
Not
Community
4-H
Mapping,
GIS.
something.
Yeah, nat4hgis.com, I think.
No,
We have
that's not
we
it.
have two. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have two links. Youth
Okay.
Community Mapping. It's an older website that Tom manages, but there's conversation about merging that into our Nat4HGIS account. So, and I think we have a volunteer interested in web development on the group now, so that can be a conversation we can lead separately to kind of talk about merging all of our websites. We also have our Where's the Food landing page as well. So
Barbara, you might not have known you were signing up for all this.
we
Oh,
have
no,
three websites to merge.
it's what I do. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
gonna send you some links
One
separately.
one thing for the group to think about, anyone that's interested in contributing to any of these resources is have a pretty good idea of the kinds of things that you want to share. I mean, I think for a typical organization, you probably have at least two ways that you're sharing those things. And I'm sure that there are probably concerns about using some other party that's not 4-H to house something, or how that might get moved over time. I mean, I love an ArcGIS hub myself, but if you're talking about sharing documents and those kinds of things, can we share them over there on an org? Sure, but what does that usage look like and those sorts of things? So I recommend make a list somewhere if of all the things that you hope and wish and dream that you want to do with these different virtual spaces. And then we kind of narrow that down to, and then look at what you've got and then try to kind of sort it out from there. But you don't want to just keep I wouldn't recommend that you just keep adding more things.
I
We don't need to keep adding
a mess
websites,
to
that's
clean
for
it up.
sure.
Yeah, in chat, I just put a link to, I kind of migrated, or I guess sort of migrated like some of our sites together into a single hub site. Was it like a year or 2 or 3 years ago, I think now?
Mhm.
So that'd be somewhere to start. And then I think, yeah, I took that with like what you were mentioning, that in kind of all in mind. And I think some of it is like items, and then like some of it are Google Forms. It's really, I think the biggest thing and I'll really push Hub. I've developed several Hub sites myself, but the big thing with Hub is being able to natively showcase like what we're doing as a team. And I feel like that's not being done right now, and it's more complicated to do if you don't use a Hub site. And the hub is it's just easier to share in terms of permissions and whatever else. But
Sure.
yeah, feel free to take a look at the one that I threw out there, and that's at least something that I kind of combined stuff, what, 2 or 3 years ago now, to do.
And another thing to
I will say is we've had the same discussion several years now. So it's nice to finally be getting hopefully some more momentum.
Yeah, and another thing to consider, Dr. Ray, and you might recall this, is that me and George had also created an ArcGIS experience builder for our club space at our high school. So one thing to consider is that that might also be an option. We have embedded a whole ArcGIS Survey 123 into that. So we might as well be able to implement whole maps into that. And it also has a lot of website building capabilities. It works in a grid format. And so it might be more modular of an option and more viable. And it seems like the sharing permissions on it are more manageable than a hub. So that might be something to consider in addition to a website. Another thing we could think about is, if we really wanted to go deeper, is assuming we could embed an ArcGIS dashboard into an experience builder. Dashboard does have does have the ability to embed websites. So we could consider embedding a dashboard and then embedding our other website into that. So 3-layer embedding essentially, but I don't know whether or not that's possible. We could look into that. It's just something to consider.
So I would say kind of back to Barbari's, point that the more things we had, like, yes, we could probably do layers of embedding, but each one of those layers then has to be maintained. And our
Exactly.
issue right now is not that we don't have enough stuff. It's that we're not able to maintain it. We're not being able to keep things up to date. So for example, Arjun mentioned being at the conference. Did we lose him? I was trying. Oh, there you are. You were hiding over there on the side of my screen. You moved. The Arjun was mentioning, being at the 4-H equity, the True Leaders in Equity Institute. And then when we were we were there trying to achieve the goal of new members, right? So we were definitely presenting, using GIS, but we were also trying to use that opportunity to recruit. But when we send people to the website and they say, "Oh, well, this application says 2023." So did I miss the application? Is it too late? Like those kinds of things end up being counterproductive. So yes, having links to send people to is helpful, but if they're not maintained and up to date, then ultimately it can backfire. So we want to have fewer things. I do like the idea of being able to hook in and update with our most current work. Like I think that needs to be able to stay updated so people can see and I understand. Yeah, so I hear what you're saying, and I think maybe you need to be part of working with Barbary and maybe if there's someone else on the call that wants to kind of be that more core group to help think through how we want to organize all this. But I hear a need for uh, go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, that's cool. Sorry, I just
Yeah, it's
realized
new.
apparently if
Like
you,
it'll do it now if you have it
yeah,
turned on. Like if you hold your hand up long enough, it'll do that. Or you can also do the thumbs up one.
oh, I haven't been able to do that one. So I was gonna mention just like from all the conversations that we were doing, so it sounds like there's a lot of different like websites that have been kind of created over the years. I was looking at the one specifically that Mr. Reniels sent, I think, in the chat regarding the dashboard or not dash. It was a where
The hub
some
site?
It's
it
a
was
hub.
the like Net4H dashboard, I believe. It was, or maybe it was
It's
a
a
hub.
hub.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think that one was kind of up to date. It was like up to 2022. The other websites I found are kind of like Google sites or just like different domains and were like kind of around different projects we had over the years. So, would it be kind of would it be, I guess, a good idea if we kind of like just centralize on improving that like hub since it's already there and kind of an easy start point?
The other big thing, I'll throw this in there too, I don't know if you notice it. I put a big emphasis on being able to locate contacts. I think that's, from my perspective, that's one of the bigger things that we really don't have right now, is to be able to be like, hey, I'm in Iowa, like who do I contact about my team or whatever? Because even though we're a national team, we also have state contacts and stuff. And I mean, even in North Carolina, right? If you guys have like even county teams and stuff. So I feel like going about like whatever solution it is, it has to have some component of that, which I don't think we really had up until I kind of threw something together. But
I can propose that was like the second thing I was gonna mention, like proposing kind of having the shared Google Drive, but then just like during this call, like giving out a form to just kind of get everyone's like email and then name and then the state they're from, and then just putting that into spreadsheet so everyone has that available for them, and I can send out that drive, and then like every respective state can start adding like their specific contacts for each state. So like for me and Dr. A and I, that would be, like the different county teams that we're gonna be creating in North Carolina. So those people would like have our information, but also you guys could see who we're like talking about, if that makes sense. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that, so I'll open the floor to that.
Let me share one more option that you all might want to consider. So, who's heard of ArcGIS Hub?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah, okay. So with all of our data already being in the Esri platform, I think it would make sense instead of trying to maintain multiple websites in multiple places, why don't we keep it in one place and keep it simple and keep it in Esri's platform?
That's sort of the point I was trying to make with the ArcGIS Experience Builder, because it
Yeah.
is a bit more, like I said, it's been more modular than Hub. And so, like, the idea being we could still keep it in one place,
Mhm.
but have a place where it would be more editable.
Yeah. So let me propose this. In light of time, this is probably not something we're going to solve tonight, even though that would be great. It's probably not going to happen tonight. If we could get a smaller team, and I think I've heard a few interested folks kind of pop up, I will put together, as a matter of fact, just drop in the chat. If you're interested in being part of that team, I'll make sure you get included on that, and I'll get a connecting email going, so you all can start making that happen. And so all of that because we wanted a shared Google Drive. Now, what's next, Brandon?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, the Google form, if that is something we want to do real quickly, and then moving on to Norwich debrief was kind of the last or next item, as well as San Diego debrief.
All right. Well, do you want to open that up and then pass it off to Tara or Leslie?
For the Norwich debrief?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I was just gonna say, we met with Norwich on July 16th on Tuesday. I think I should I'll pass it off to Tara, or sorry, Dr. Tara, regarding her kind of like the presentation, like just talk quickly about her project and then kind of how we're collaborating with her on that.
Sure. Yeah, I can give a summary. Sorry, mute was not cooperating. So as I mentioned, with the the broader goal of our Nourish project being to address food insecurity from kind of the supply side and trying to build up and support and facilitate connections with entrepreneurs, to create fresh food businesses in communities that experience food insecurity. And of course our kind of premise is that using if we use geospatial modeling techniques, AI based techniques in combination and while grounded within like a deep community collaborative environment, we can potentially do something quite useful with these types of tools in a manner that we hope will facilitate change in a positive way for these for the communities. So in terms of kind of our focus and maybe interests related to training. So I think during like the very first call that we had, we realized that we were very quite nicely aligned in sort of our goals with some of the 4-H work that you all are already clearly doing. So that was a very, very pleasant and exciting surprise for us. And so really what we're interested in, I think, is, so part of what we have, as I mentioned, is a place-based mapping feature that will utilize various data streams and sources and be able to use a variety of tools to provide suggestions, for example, on like optimal places for individuals to start new businesses. It'll help them with business ideation. We'll be able to inform on things like, you're thinking about this region of Chula Vista, California. Well, there are, this many other businesses that are already there doing this. But you might consider this, or so we're trying to use data in a flexible way to try to help with kind of the development of what type of business and sort of where it might go and what form it might take. So if that's like a typical kind of restaurant or food truck or coffee stand, like whatever that might look like. So in that regard, oh, I'm sorry. Does somebody have sorry,
Yeah.
Brock, do you have your hand up? I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. So I'm assuming then is this going to be more like chat AI type based?
Somewhat. There will be an interactive feature that is AI based, that will help with like ideation and, make just, kind of the ease of use of the platform. Hopefully facilitate that. But behind the scenes, there will be all the kind of like work regarding, the mapping feature and things like that to make this happen. And so, but yeah, that's definitely part of its use for our goal here. And so with kind of our focus on the mapping in particular, so my role as a scientist on the Nourish team has primarily been in helping to identify and stream data sources to send to, to potentially incorporate into the mapping tool, and working with our 2 computer scientists on the team to kind of integrate and start to get things moving for our prototype. And so within that, though, we have, so for example, we stream various sources of Esri data because you all know like Esri data is pretty fantastic. It gives you like lots of information for like a very nice geographic, sort of a area. But we also recognize that there are, key limitations to some of these kind of data streams that are more, upper level like Esri, or, maybe things that we might scrape from the web, or, other types of tools that may be, let's say, information sources like government based. And so one thing that we're really interested in doing is thinking about and working on ways that we might be able to collect more data, and to understand like a more nuanced story about what might be in these communities, that if we look at just strictly Esri data, let's say we might have a community that doesn't have any grocery stores, and we might say, oh, that might, according to the USDA, qualify as a zone that has low food access. But from some of the work that I think even Brandon mentioned, like, you all have been out there with, your where's the food, right? Like that's the entire premise is like, if you look further and you look at, what are the small mom and pop shops, where is the fresh food? And that might tell a very different picture. And ultimately what we're trying to learn here are things that can help us better serve, the communities that we're trying to serve. So in the interest of that, and, also, with my training hat on, like we want to train the next generation of scientists who are like interested in this, like collaborate on things that are fun and engaging, and, people who are like really interested in sort of diving into the area of addressing, food security, while also, being able to kind of leverage and learn more kind of state-of-the-art modeling and, related approaches. So, so I think to start out with, we talked about some ways where we might be able to consider enhancements of the existing survey, or Brandon, I saw your email reply after. Also, we're open to other suggestions. For example, Brandon sent me an email a couple of days ago and suggesting like, oh, could we do something related to like business, like promoting youth entrepreneurs to develop, and consider careers as like, hey, you could do this, you could open your own fresh food business. And so so that is kind of like in a nutshell where we are right now. And we have a couple of meetings that are coming up, but basically we're excited to be here, and I think there's a ton of potential, and we're excited to kind of move to next steps, and yeah. Leslie, do you want to add anything? Sorry, that was a little rambly.
No, it sounded good to me.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Fazina, for the presentation. I was just going to quickly note that also in the agenda, we included like the screenshot from part of your presentation regarding some of the ideas you mentioned. So I kind of just want to quickly open up the floor if there's anyone that's like interested in helping out with specifically this piece on the Nourish collaboration with like the 4-H team and Nourish, to kind of just I guess just in the interest of time, just put it in the chat, I guess. Is that fine with you, Dr. A?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think it would be interesting too, just to hear, some of us were at the presentation and we got to kind of hear this and let it, marinate with it a little bit. For some folks, this is the first time they're really hearing more of the details around this. So I would love to just invite, if anybody has a question or, this is really resonating with you and you want to let everybody know that, or if it's not, and you want to let everybody know that too, I guess I should allow space for that one as well. So, any thoughts or comments on the Nourish project?
I have a quick idea on some of the kinds of data that we could perhaps extract. I've kind of worked with, so I was thinking about looking into uh, like social media data itself, whether that be X or whatever, basically scraping like data off that, because so I've kind of worked with this before, kind of informally, but I think social media data, of course, there might be some limitations with this, but I was thinking if we also have social media data with us at hand, along with the mapping data, then we can also get a sense of not only like where problems are in the world or in different places, but how people in those places actually feel about them, perhaps. So that's just a quick thought that entered my mind.
Another thing I think is worth mentioning is looking at food insecurity in relation to industrialization and how underdeveloped or overdeveloped, for that matter, like an area could be, and whether or not like specific industries are influencing like how the culture of certain areas and um, how that could lead to food insecurity. So I think that's definitely something worth looking at. Another thing you could look at if you have time during the project, I'm not sure how long you want this prototype to take. But one thing you could look at is if you want it to be very interactive, is looking at Geo AI and looking at the GIS AI side of things in terms of like being able to look at a specific area it like amidst the chat AI process. But I'm not exactly sure if you would have time for that, but we'll see.
Anybody else? Comments or questions? All right. Any thoughts or responses?
I can just hop in and say these are fantastic ideas. We haven't, as far as I'm aware, we have not even gotten to the potential of social media, which I think is huge. So that is certainly an area that we could talk a lot about and consider ideas there. I mean, of course, those data are really rich. So I think, yeah, great potential there. And also the concept of industrialization over or under, that's a nice angle as well. I think, and particularly industry influences. So those are both fabulous. I think there's a lot to work with those ideas as well.
Got it.
So, Dr. Ray, if may I actually wanted to understand what would be the goal. Do we have a goal for this year, something like that, where we all are marching towards?
So with the Nourish project?
Yes, with the Nourish project as well as with our team goal as well.
Yes. So this collaboration, I think we're still kind of narrowing down exactly what the deliverables on our part would be. We're being given kind of an opportunity to speak into that and co-create those pieces. So we kind of have that big picture that ultimately we want to have a really robust data set that helps potential food entrepreneurs potentially also young food entrepreneurs really be able to improve the food environment in their communities to address food systems, food security, um, and the belief, I think the belief of the Nourish group is that 4-H young people in their communities have a firsthand set of knowledge, or at least access to a firsthand set of knowledge that kind of the big data, USDA will tell you where every SNAP location is, but you have to dig a little bit to figure out which ones are actually stores with fresh fruits and veggies, right? So every Walgreens is listed, but that doesn't mean that you can really go to Walgreens and make a healthy meal for your family. Nothing against Walgreens, and I'm not upset that they take SNAP benefits, but the question is, it doesn't really help address whether an area is a food desert or not. Even though if you just look at the big data, it says it does. And so we have young people who are kind of on the ground in communities. Definitely our community is represented here, but I think we also represent a larger set of young people that we could potentially even think about how do we engage the larger 4-H community beyond just our GIS youth. So I don't know what that ends up looking like, but whether that's using your community's social media data, Sudi, to kind of scrape where people are saying they're accessing hidden gems of food that aren't on the big maps, or whether it's, I know where my family goes to get, like we talked about here in Raleigh, right by where I work, we have the watermelon lady. She sets up, she's got all these different cool watermelons. I mean, there are some pretty wild watermelons out there, by the way. You thought this patty pan squash was something. Wait till you, anyways. So, and that's not showing up on anybody's map, right? Because she just pops up on the side of the road and kind of does her thing. But that's the kind of data that you can't get from a national data set. You have to get from the very local perspective that I think is part of where we're going. We actually talked about a few other pieces as well, just doing some AI training, using images to like we might say, yeah, this is a healthy piece of food. Let's take a picture, let's label it, and let's train AI so that as we have images of food, we can quickly start assessing, more healthful, maybe really tasty, but not quite as helpful because it's got a little bit of extra processing going on there or whatever. So I think we still have the opportunity at this point to co-create. I think the other thing that the Nourish team is offering is additional training for us in whichever of these kind of paths that we select. I hope that's helpful. Did I mess anything up, Nourish team?
No, that was fantastic. That's exactly it. Yeah. So we're happy to kind of move in, in the direction that collaboratively makes sense for us, right? That like what you all want to learn about, what you want to gain skills in. We're hopeful that we can, play a role in being able to provide some, sort of, different training experiences that you might have, and also, very hands-on things related to like, I think at our meeting we had some discussion of like, oh, okay, like, you all are going into the Esri platform through one way, but maybe we could think about, can we, learn a bit about the Jupyter notebooks to be able to code in and access Esri, so there's things like that we could certainly do and add in, sort of based on, shared goals and interests. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Pacino. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or is that just okay? Great.
Yeah, thanks. I think that covers it. And I saw in the chat, I put my email there. I pulled a few emails. Thank you for dropping those in. Feel free to reach out to me, or of course, folks connected here with us, Dr. Ray, or Brandon and others. And we can, figure out next steps, and we're happy to pull people in from anywhere in the country. That's great in terms of, our perspective. So.
Got it. All right. And then I just wanted to quickly bring up one last housekeeping item I had. Mr. Tom Tate from Washington, he was asking about apparently something regarding Bethesda workshops, if anyone knew what that was regarding. Just wanted to see if there was
Arjun and Sumedh, but Sumedh's not here, so Arjun's gonna have to do the job.
Arjun?
Sure, I can talk about those. So, like we were mentioning earlier, Dr. Ray, Sumedh, and I all went to Bethesda to do workshops at the 4-H True Leaders in Equity Conference. And so we stayed for about 2 days, and we did 2 workshop sessions where we basically introduced people to GIS and then did like an interactive demo and through our story maps, and we let people engage in like an experience. Was it experience builder that we used, or?
I think we settled for instant apps because
Oh, it was instant apps. Yeah.
it was a little simpler.
Yeah, so we did an instant app that showed basically a bunch of like community statistics and health data, and we let people kind of like play around with it, and then we chose them to like identify a specific health issue that they were, I guess like saw was an issue in their community, and then we told them to kind of look at ways that they could maybe bring awareness to that issue, and also pick out specific statistics that they could probably take to like policymakers and local community leaders and try to make some change in their community. So we kind of gave them like a framework of how to use GIS in making that health equity change. And we also kind of did some recruitment in that aspect as well.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Arjun. I'm happy for the update. And then there was kind of mainly one last big thing. I know it's kind of getting late. Regarding kind of the conversation we had. So in San Diego, I don't know how many people Dr. Ray has let know about kind of the new, I guess, like model we're trying to bring into the national team. We're like having basically helping researchers and professors win grants, having our like 4-Hers be able to assist in that type of research and like get involved with fields that they're interested in studying in. And then obviously providing the funding necessary to support the national team with its endeavors, like, sending like Arjun and Dr. Ray to that True Equity Conference, or like the rest of the national team so their trip is paid for when they go to San Diego. So with that, I kind of wanted to open up the floor on, is there any, I guess, specific fields or connections that anyone here has for me and Sassy and I to start, like, kind of get started on that. So yeah.
If you want to look at the more engineering side of things, my dad works for an engineering firm called Burns McDonnell. They're based out of Kansas City, Missouri, actually. So Barbary, I don't know if you've heard of them. Anyway, they have GIS professionals on their team. So I don't know if they would allow for like assistance in like terms of like more engineering type of specialty GIS projects.
They do. They have a whole team of GIS people big into environmental. I know some people that work there, so you can follow up with me afterwards.
Awesome, sounds good. Yeah, we can discuss more later. Just something to throw out there.
Just the model that you're describing, it reminds me a lot of what happens with at a university that has a geospatial center of some sort. So I mean, a friend of mine happens to be connected with the one at William and Mary. But you might visit with some people doing those kinds of things that have a geospatial center at their university, and maybe talk with them about how they invite folks to work with them on their campus. Obviously, they're more focused on an individual campus, and you guys are casting a wider net. But I think that the concept is the same that you're kind of describing there. So, you know, it might be just how are they, because they have ideas about how they pay for things and how, you know, how they're really making that work, that I think maybe would help you here as well.
Yeah, I think that it'll kind of be the same or similar situations. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And Brandon, you and Arjun met someone from the Center for Geospatial Analytics at NC State, which is also our new home, while you were at the conference. So that might be someone you want to craft, you know, a message and reach out to her, or our other contacts there. And then I guess we are a little distance from William and Mary, but we're all a distance from everybody, really.
Yeah.
so I don't know that
just an email or a Zoom call away. No big deal.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
My friend at William and Mary, I'm sure would be happy to visit with you if you had questions for her as well. So I can give you her contact information.
Excellent.
Got it. I'll add that onto the list. Quickly, Dr. Ray, the person you were talking about for NC State's Center for Geospatial Analytics, I have Professor Stacy Supak on file. All right, got it. And then I guess just, is there any more kind of like comments or specific fields that people think we might get more hits on?
And I just wanted to quickly mention, you know, since I'll be an NC State student, I can always like reach out to anyone who works at NC State, and it'll probably be easier for me. So you guys can just let me know and I'll try to do my best.
Got it. And
one suggestion I might have is, I know our extension colleagues, a lot of them are working on projects. Some people know GIS, but not all do. So it might be something to check locally too within our extension.
I feel like that's a really great suggestion, Kim. You know, I feel like there are so many times that even a proposal could be strengthened by including some geospatial, you know, perspective. And if our extension folks know, oh, well, we have 4-H youth who could help, you know, strengthen our proposals, that would be, you know, a big win.
Have we done much, Tom, lately with the map assist?
I didn't understand what you said, David. I'm sorry.
Have we done much with the e-extension people lately? I think we have chatted with them in the past.
You know, you're right, we did have somebody come and present a while ago.
So I think they were trying to get going and starting a youth leadership group.
Well, and then we've done some presentations, I feel like with the Roger, anyways, rather than take up our time trying to remember that, but I think e-extension could also be a good connect.
And I will say too, if you're, don't just think about GIS, go outside of the bounds of GIS. I know someone that's a landscape architect that does GIS stuff with an extension. So I'd say the sky is the limit, especially when it comes to geospatial stuff and finding people.
All right. I think that's all I have for the meeting, Dr. A, if you're fine with the journey. Unless anyone else has anything else to add?
You want to lead us in the four-way test? I just came from Rotary. Now I got to switch to
just one thing.
The four-way test, the 4-H pledge. How's that? Let me shift gears. We can do the Rotary four-way test too if you want to. But.
Just one thing I'll push to the next meeting real quick is we'll need, and it'll be better if Mr. Tom Tate's here for this, is discussing the State Fair Tracker project, which I will update on at the next meeting. And David, if you have any responses to the email I sent out, please feel free to follow up as well. But we can push that to the next meeting.
Yeah. All right, I'll make sure to make a note of that for you, Brock. No worries. Do we have to do the 4-H pledge, by the way, Dr. Ray, or?
Yes, Brandon, yes.
Pretty much. Here, let me.
Come on, I
here,
want
I'll-
to do it. Let's go, Brandon. Come on, I want to do it.
Okay.
I know, right?
Pledge
Here,
my
I'll
head
share
to-
my screen so
Oh,
you can.
okay.
It might be small, but can you see
Do you
that?
not know it?
Mhm.
Can you see that?
Yep.
All right.
So I pledge my head to greater thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living for my club, my community, my country, and my world. All right.
Right. Great job, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Brandon, nice facilitation tonight. Thank you for that. I'm going to stop the recording, I think.
All right,
If I
thank
can
you.
find
And
out.
I have some quick things to run by you, if you can stay for a second, Dr. A.
Yes, sir.